UNVRSL.
What's going on YouTube? We back with another banger video, and today we are reacting to the entire One Piece power system explained. Man, y'all said last video I seen some of y'all comments and y'all was talking about I need to start learning the story and stuff like that. But before we dive into that, I wanted to learn the power system. I wanted to understand what y'all talk about with a power system first before I dive into the character development and the storyline with that. But yeah, before we get into that video, man, I just wanted to say thank you for running up that video. And I'm gonna be back for more. If y'all guys want some more One Piece videos or any other anime, let me know in the comment section. And I really just wanted to come on here and say thank you for 200 subscribers, man. We hit 200, man. That is crazy. I didn't think I was even gonna be at 200 this soon in my YouTube career so far. So more grinding coming soon, more videos coming soon. Let's get straight on into it. I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
Every great anime needs a well-crafted power system, or in the case of One Piece, 4. So I sat down to figure out once and for all how devil fruits, haki, science...
This is an older video. I think this video is like 2 years old. I couldn't find a newer one just because nobody explained it. So if you guys in the comments want to explain, if he misses something in this video, can you guys explain to me in the comments? Like anything that he missed.
And weapons each work in the One Piece world, and how each of them balances and interacts with the rest. Starting of course with the power that might be the most important ability in the entire story, Haki. Now we're going to break down every single detail about this complex system, which includes some of the most devastating powers in the entire story. And the basics of Haki are fairly simple, but as you will soon see, it quickly branches into many unique paths of super powerful abilities as well. However, the basics go like this. There are 2 Haki abilities that anyone in the world can learn, and a third one that you basically have to be born with. And the first is Armament Haki, in Japanese called...
You can get born with it though?
Essentially, this ability allows the user to form invisible armor, which
enhances... that's what that is! I always wondered I thought that was like some type of rubber power. I thought that... Bro, okay.
Both offensive and defensive capabilities.
Okay.
This can be seen, for example, when this guy coats his entire body in Haki for a massive boost in defense. However, Armament Haki doesn't just have to be a full body suit. It can also be applied to just certain parts of the body, like your hands or feet, to make them ridiculously strong as well. A perfect example of this is the Yonko Big Mom using Haki on just her arm to block Luffy's super powerful punch. Now, the second way that
So was Luffy using Haki right there, or was that just something of his power? Because it looks different from the other versions of Haki. Is that like... I don't know. I'm kind of confused here, but I'm trying to understand.
Haki can be used is to coat an item or a weapon in this invisible armor to make
you can do a weapon too?
Powerful. Examples of this include the basic pipe here becoming capable of shattering swords, or these arrows being able to demolish entire boulders. But you can basically coat anything that you want to make it just ridiculously strong. And this super strong Haki can even protect you from other abilities in the One Piece world, like devil fruits, which I just can't wait to talk about in a little bit. But first, the second...
Wait. So Luffy has... Wait, does Luffy have a devil fruit? And if he does, that means he's using Haki and devil fruit? So you can use multiple versions of their powers or something like that?
Basic type of Haki
that's kind of crazy.
Anyone in the world can learn is observation Haki.
Japanese
called Kenbunshoku. Now, observation Haki lets the user sense the presence of others, even if those are hiding or using some sort of stealth ability. Observation Haki can also allow someone to sense the intention of a person, such as if they intend to hurt you or if they're actually quite friendly. As you might know, Luffy is especially skilled at this, but it is also shown by many other characters. And perhaps the single best example of this is...
we got that in Naruto too. And Dragon Ball got it, so it makes sense. But I like the way that they explain it in One Piece, and they have it in One Piece. It makes it more, I don't know, it's not just so on the nose with it.
Blind Admiral Fujitora, who uses his observation Haki to sense others' locations, but also their intentions, even though he is technically blind. However, just like armament, observation Haki needs to be actively used. It's not just automatically on all the time. And we even learned in chapter 884 that if a person is emotionally unstable or rattled, like they're super sad or angry, then their observation Haki will be a lot less effective or not even work at all. And so these are the basics of the first first two abilities, and while some characters are naturally better at one or the other, spending time training both of these two powers makes someone way more powerful and capable than an average fighter. Which honestly is kind of insane that just anyone in the One Piece world can train to be this strong, but only the absolute strongest characters have the third form of Haki, which is called Conquerors. In Japanese, this ability is called Haoshoku, and it is also known as the color of the Supreme King. Now, that's because this is a very special and unique type of Haki that not anyone can just learn. Only those who are actually born with exceptionally strong wills can actually use it. However, this ability is so rare that we're actually being told that only 1 out of several million people are born with one. And in fact, only 18 characters in the entire canon storyline have actually...
So, okay, so we got Shanks, we got Luffy, we got Silvers. I don't know who that is yet. We got Boa. We got Doflamingo. We got Chinjo. I can't pronounce that name. Sorry if I'm butchering that. We got Charlotte. We got another Charlotte. We got Ustas, Sengoku, Kaido. We got Zoro. We got Yamato. We got Monkey D. Garp. Okay, we got, that's a crazy name. We got Edward Newgate. We got Ace. We got Odin, and then we got Roger. That's not a, I mean, out of millions of people though, I guess that is a lot when you put it that way. But it's just all the main cast, really.
Been proven to have
which is cool.
Although 4 of them are already confirmed to be dead. And so clearly this ability is reserved for those with the will to become the strongest in the world.
I didn't see what characters were dead, so I didn't want to like go back. So I didn't.
Well, the clearest example
I don't want to spoil myself.
Luffy using Conqueror's Haki is when he unleashed an insane blast of his willpower to literally knock out 50,000 weak-willed fighters during the Fishman Island arc. And so basically this is a mint when the former Pirate King's right-hand man, Rayleigh, knocked out all of these people in the auction house on Sabaody, and according to Rayleigh, this power can actually be trained so much to get better control of it, so it actually only affects the people that you actually want it to. However, while you can actually gain better control, Conqueror's Haki cannot get stronger per se because it is the embodiment of your strength of will, and as we'll explain in just a moment, not all Conqueror's Haki users are even close to the same level of ridiculous strength. But now, you might be thinking that you already knew about all these basic forms of Haki, but did you know that there are actually different skill trees for this power system? I mean, yeah, that's right.
Skill trees?
It's kind of like playing an RPG with a sandbox system where you can unlock certain special abilities as you get stronger along a certain branch. And in fact, the last one of these abilities is absolutely game-changing for anyone wanting to be a top-tier fighter in One Piece. Now, we've already discussed with armaments that you can choose to either harden your own body or you can coat an object in that Haki. And while most people
if y'all was in One Piece, which one would y'all do? Would y'all coach our object or would y'all use our body? Me, I'm probably going with the Zoro route and I'm coating my swords.
Do both, it takes an extraordinary amount of practice to become a true master at either one of these. However, during the Wano arc, we learned that there is actually an advanced form of armament Haki that only very few people actually ever master.
Bro, how does he keep
advanced armament? And they're actually,
I know he's training and stuff. I get that. I see what he's doing. But this man Luffy is just OP, bro.
2 forms of this power. Now, these don't have official names in the story, but they're sometimes called what is known as emission or internal destruction. Basically, emission allows the user to extend their Haki coating out into the air to create this invisible force field on top of their skin. Now, this was first seen on Sabaody when this sumo-looking dude smashed Luffy without even touching him. On the other hand, internal destruction involves
wait, okay, was it that one dude that I seen in the last video? He was like this or something, and he punched Luffy like that, but it looked like he didn't really do that much damage to him, but he punched him, like he punched through him. I'm gonna put the clip up if I remember, but I'm gonna put the clip up.
extending your own Haki
Is that what it is?
to an object or person, so it is literally destroyed from the inside. And there's actually this wonderful panel back from chapter 947, which perfectly explains this concept, and in chapter 955, we actually see Luffy mastering it by demolishing this poor tree. And so together,
that is a crazy ability.
Forms of Haki are way more powerful than normal armament Haki hardening. And we do know this because when Luffy punched the Yonko Kaido with only his basic level Haki, it didn't damage the Emperor like at all, but when he later learned advanced armament, he dealt significant damage to the King of the Beasts. Which now already takes us to observation Haki, which might actually surprise you because there are again multiple different branches that user can specialize in here. The first is commonly referred to as advanced observation Haki or future sight, which was a major factor in Luffy's battle against Katakuri here. Now this ability, as you might have guessed, allows the user to see slightly into the future, though how far does seem to depend on how skilled the user actually is. And while this is an ability that can be learned by observation,
so they can see in the future
masters,
too.
I'm
That's
not
crazy.
sure if the other branch of observation Haki is quite so
So
simple
so what's stronger, the devil fruits or Haki?
to
I'm trying not to pause that much, but I'm really interested into this right now.
learn. And that's because the other special branch is the ability to sense the emotions of other people. Now, this ability has only been shown by a few characters, and it can actually have devastating consequences for the user. For instance, this little girl here was able to sense all of the fearful emotions of the people dying during the death games on Skypiea.
Oh, that's
Similarly,
crazy.
The Marine Kobe was completely overwhelmed by sadness when he sensed all of the people dying during the war at Marineford. Which of course only leaves us with the insane branches of Conqueror's Haki, which is the ability that truly separates the great fighters from the absolute strongest beasts in the entire story. Now, during Luffy's battle with Kaido, we learned that characters can actually unlock advanced Conqueror's Haki as well, which is basically a superior version of advanced armament Haki. How this works is essentially advanced Conquerors allows the user to coat themselves in literally their Conqueror spirit. This exponentially increases the amount of damage delivered with each single blow, and this ability is also what has led to some of the most famous scenes in the entire story, where two of the strongest characters clash, and they literally split the skies. However, while only a handful of characters have ever shown this ability, this is not even the highest level of advanced
I don't think this is about pirates anymore. I don't think this is about the devil fruit. You know, at one point in time, I know they still looking for the devil fruit, but what I'm saying is at one point in time when we was watching Naruto, you know, it's, how would I explain this? When we was watching Naruto, and Naruto was originally about ninjas, correct? Or shinobis, whatever you want to say. Then once we got to the war, it stopped really being about that. It was still about it, but they started turning into gods and stuff. So I don't know. I guess it's the same way with One Piece. They gotta kind of up the power scaling and stuff, so it makes sense.
In the story, because we're actually being told by the author himself that Shanks, for example, has such overwhelming Conqueror's Haki that he is known as the killer of observation Haki. What does that mean? Well, this makes enemies so intimidated that they can't even focus to use their own observation Haki, and as we see right here, this supreme level of Conqueror's Haki can even make a Marine Admiral run away crying for mercy. By the way, I can protect you from Gojo's advanced Conqueror's Haki, but only if you make sure to... What's the allowing capability one to grow with the other power systems in One Piece in the first place? However, while Haki allows anyone to grow ridiculously strong, almost all characters seem to enhance their fighting capabilities with some sort of truly powerful weapon. And let me tell you, almost nothing beats the intense, heart-pounding excitement in my chest when a new weapon is introduced to the story. And I mean, the greatest thing about weapons is that most of them can literally be used by anyone, and with the right weapon and enough training, even an average person can become a very deadly fighter in One Piece. And so let's start off with
that's kind of cool. There's not really regular people, which makes it kind of like everybody can fight for themselves if they're strong enough. You know, it's just levels to it. I like that, because in Naruto and in Dragon Ball, you got regular humans, and they can't really fight for themselves, so they got to depend on like Goku or Naruto or whoever's, you know, the strongest in them verse. But at least in One Piece, they can learn Haki or some version of it and fight, if I'm getting that right. So I like that.
Swords, plus some other types of blades
Or
we'll
weapons.
just throw in here as well. Now, swords are commonly weapons used by basically every single group in the story. I mean, pretty much every pirate crew has one or more sword fighters. Most common marines use a blade, and even some characters like this invisible man combine their devil fruit abilities with incredible swordsmanship. And what's actually incredibly helpful for power scaling swords in One Piece is that there's actually an in-world system all crafted specifically for ranking each of these blades. And I actually recently made a video about the 13 strongest
Yeah,
swords
because
in One Piece.
isn't this dude in the middle? He fought Zoro before, right? And he used like the little butter knife. I think that's him, right?
I explained that in detail, but essentially in a nutshell, here's how it works. Because some swords receive a rank based on their impressive feats, special characteristics, and their strength as a blade. This ranking includes an unknown number of graded swords, 50 skillful great swords, 21 great swords, and at the top of the ranking, the 12 supreme grade blades. And while we don't have the full list of all of these incredible weapons, there are a few that are instantly recognizable all around the world, like these ones right here. And while swords are by far the most common type of blade, some of the strongest fighters in the story use different types of blades. Now, these include the former warlord's strongest man, Whitebeard's, whose Naginata is one of the 12 supreme grades, and Goldie Rogers' third in command, Gaban, who is a dual axe wielder, which is actually pretty unique in the story. And while some of these blades are truly overpowered, they aren't even close to as strong as some of the weapons coming up in just a moment. But if blades aren't really your thing, there's also a ridiculous variety of insanely strong and unique weapons to choose from, such as this Lightning Man's golden staff, Kaido's spiked club, Katakuri's overpowered trident, and even an actual lightsaber, which was just recently revealed in the manga.
Alright, bro.
Now, these are some of the more traditional weapons in the One Piece world, but some of the most powerful ones are those that you won't find anywhere outside of One Piece. A perfect example of this is the dials from Skypiea. These special shells can be used to store different types of energy, which is honestly a little bit weird, but we'll let it slide because it is a very cool concept. For example, this giant priest here has a belt full of axe dials, which releases a slashing blast that can even cut through iron. Or another one is a flame dial, which can actually be used to shoot actual fire, or the most overpowered of all the dials, the reject dial, which releases whatever force it has absorbed but multiplied by 10.
Y'all sure do have a lot of power systems.
You can use these dials to massively enhance other weapons, such as the
kitty
heat dial combined with this lance to make it a super heated weapon. And even Usopp used dials to improve Nami's weather baton, which is kind of crazy that all of these types of powers come from the shell of a living creature. But dials are far from the only weapons in the story that are actually alive in some form. And that's because a few weapons in the One Piece world are actually living, breathing creatures, which include this elephant sword and this doggy cannon, which were both weapons that were actually fed a devil fruit. However, the next set of weapons is going to get much bigger. And that's because we're now talking about ships, which can bring massive destruction to entire islands, as we've seen with the island of Ohara and Enies Lobby. However, while a powerful fleet of ships can be absolutely devastating, even they can be taken out by strong weapons. In particular, there is a super special type of sword called a Black Blade, which we've seen take down massive ships with one swing. Now, these infamous Black Blades are some of the most powerful weapons in the story, and so far one of the rarest in the One Piece world. But even those famous blades are pitiful compared to the most powerful weapons in the entire story, because now let's of course discuss the legendary ancient weapons, Poseidon, Pluton, and Uranus. And while you may not consider these normal weapons, they are literally called weapons, so I wanted to talk about them in this category. And you're just running around in the background, I can tell. You're free. And actually, Uranus is the one that we know the least about. And since Poseidon is an underwater power and Pluton is a ship that rides on the ocean, it is widely theorized that Uranus is a weapon that can fly in the air, such as this mysterious ability that we see raining down lasers right here. And although although recent chapters might hint that this mysterious weapon is not actually Uranus, certainly it would be a power at least equally as destructive as this. And so, while swords are clearly awesome, they certainly cannot be called the strongest weapons in the story when compared to these incredible ancient weapons. But that's not to say that swords and other blades aren't massively strong in their own right, especially when they are combined with Haki. Because, as we already discussed, strong fighters can coat their weapons.
I'm gonna pause it real quick, and I'm gonna say this. I see what y'all talking about now, that y'all got more than just y'all fights. I already knew that. I know y'all story is good. I just don't really understand how pirates trying to find a devil fruit can lead up to stuff like this. That's what I was trying to explain in the last video. I suck at explaining things. But yeah, man, I see, like, once you get past the starter animation, which is understandable, and it starts getting better animation, I could tell the story starts picking up even more. And if you guys want me to watch One Piece, I will probably start doing it on stream. I probably won't do it in video format. But if you wanted me to watch it, I would watch it. Just let me know in the comments.
With Haki to massively raise their attack power and even allow them to slice down literal mountains. In fact, some of the strongest pirates in the entire
This is actually interesting. I'm actually finding this interesting.
Goldie Roger's crew exclusively used weapons combined with overwhelming Haki, which in a world full of powerful devil fruits is kind of incredible to think about, but this next power system in One Piece has the potential to make everything I've discussed so far completely unnecessary. Because weapons? Garbage. Haki? Don't need it. Get the hell out of here. That's because science is about to take over the One Piece world. So strap in, because
y'all got scientists too?
Blowing secrets that we recently learned was that the One Piece world used to be a way more technologically advanced civilization. And this includes this giant robot that apparently has been around since the Void Century. And
okay, can somebody explain to me? I seen it in like one of these other videos. I've been looking at some One Piece stuff recently, and I seen that they boats fly. Can somebody explain that to me? Is that like a version of Haki or something? How do the boats fly? I don't know.
Of what appears to have been possible in the past. That is, of course, before the world government destroyed most technology to send the world nearly back to the Stone Age. I got a delivery. What's this? Is this future cloning technology or some advanced weapon? What could it be?
He loves his kitty.
Now, today, scientists are just barely catching up to what was possible in the past in One Piece, but people all around the world are actually creating incredible and deadly scientific inventions. This also includes Frankie, who's able to make his own giant robots and super powerful ships and turn himself into a cyborg, and even characters like Chopper, who uses his scientific knowledge to cure every type of illness. And we actually saw Chopper's abilities on full display when he quickly cured
Put W Chopper in the comments
during the raid on Kaido's castle. And while this artificial virus created by this funky dinosaur nearly wiped out thousands of people, this gassy scientist is actually also extraordinarily skilled at making weapons with terribly destructive power. Isn't that right, mysteriously moving box? And among his terrifying scientific weapons are this cat, but also bombs that can destroy entire islands, poison gases that can incapacitate a whole island of strong fighters, and he was even in the process of using drugs to turn children into literal giants. And yet Caesar's awful scientific contributions aren't over yet, because during the Wano arc we saw firsthand the horrible effects of his worst invention ever. Because these are the artificial devil fruits that he created for the Emperor Kaido. Now, these fruits are actually made by combining specific chemicals with the genetic factors of animals, and then this chemical liquid is actually used to water trees, which then grow these artificial devil fruits. And
oh, so he was trying to make devil fruits?
1 in 10 people some sort of twisted animal ability, while the other 9 are cursed to only smile and laugh. Truly an awful, very unethical invention.
Oh, that's messed up.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Mad scientist we've come to know in the story who has done some crazy inventions. In fact, Sanji's father is a scientist himself and is an expert.
I didn't even know that was alive.
Genetic modification, even going as far as to modify his children into emotionless weapons of destruction. However, the Windsmoke's most impressive creations are the raid suits, which are kind of like a Power Ranger suit that give its user a huge boost in speed.
Hold on.
weapons of destruction.
Okay, okay. I just thought that was
For the
is this?
Windsmoke's most impressive
Nah, that ain't Zoro.
creations are the raid suits, which are kind of like a Power Ranger suit.
I'm like,
that
why
you
is
can
Zoro
see
with
user a
Sanji
huge boost in speed,
that early on?
power, and durability. Plus, each suit has its own special abilities, such as invisibility, explosions, electricity, or even poison. Which, you know, just goes to show that science can be very destructible and powerful in One Piece, but not all technology ends up in the wrong hands, because Nami's weather manipulation, for example, is a perfect enhancement for her natural abilities. That's because she uses her climate tact combined with her knowledge gained during the time skip to create rain, strong wind gusts, lightning, and even create mirages, as we can see during her fight in Enies Lobby. And in addition, one of the most powerful scientific advancements in the world is also one of the most common, and that's because someone once figured out how to turn the natural telepathic abilities of these snails into a literal communication device. This resulted in the transponder snails, which is basically like a phone and allows people to communicate all the way across the world, which, if you use the real world as an example, undoubtedly changed the way the entire world can function. But if we're talking about super powerful technology, then there's of course one man whose creations stand above everyone else, and that is Dr. Vegapunk. Now, this genius scientist and user of the brain devil fruit, well, foreshadowing here, has truly broken through the barriers of technological advancement.
Why he look like
Einstein?
Einstein?
You wanna know why this could make other weapons and Haki obsolete? Just listen to this, because here's what we know for a fact that Dr. Vegapunk has invented. First, there were these super powerful cyborgs who were literally able to shoot laser beams. Next, we learned that he was recreating devil fruits, such as a literal copy of Kaido's super powerful dragon fruit. And just recently, we learned that he can actually make fully functioning clones, which once again broke basically the entire story. But his absolutely strongest creations have to be this squad of genetically modified clones called the Seraphim, who are so supremely powerful that they can even fight against Yonko like Blackbeard and Luffy. They have unbelievable strength, speed, healing, and the Lunarian Flame, which makes them nearly invincible, plus their copied devil fruit abilities on top of all that. Which is just insane to think about, because what if the world government could recreate an entire army of those Seraphim? But what's crazy though is that this isn't even the only world-destroying weapon in the world government's hands, because as we already discussed, they have the power to literally wipe out islands with this laser-firing airship of destruction. And while it does seem that even a power like this seems to have some sort of limit on how often it can be used, it is surely a weapon of mass destruction that is a major threat to Luffy's friends all across the world. And so clearly, if this technology is allowed to get into the wrong hands, even the strongest pirates and marines wouldn't stand a chance. So maybe it was actually a good thing that the world government erased all of this dangerous technology years ago, maybe. And while science doesn't really interact with Haki much in the story so far, advancements in technology have clearly led to the creations of many advanced types of weapons, as we've already explained. And who knows, maybe the secret ruler of the world government, Imu, has lived ever since the Void Century with some sort of super advanced technology as well. Now, personally, I think that the much more likely reason behind Imu's abilities is the most famous power in the One Piece world, though: devil fruits. And the secrets
here we go.
of
I've been
these
waiting for this.
legendary fruits are one of the true mysteries remaining in the story, so let's explain exactly how this power system works as well. Now, the basic idea of a devil fruit is that there are these magical swirly fruits, and anyone who
that's how he got one?
instantly gains the powers of that devil forever. The only major downsides to consuming one is that they lose the ability to swim for good, which means if they fall into the ocean...
Why is that the case though? Like, is it just something that they had to nerf him with? Is that why?
With no one around to save them, well, goodbye devil fruit user. And a few other important details are that there is ever only one of each type of power in the world at the same time. For example, there cannot be two lightning fruit users at the same time. Actually, it's kind of not true anymore, but I'll talk more about recreated devil fruits in just a minute. And also, once a devil fruit user dies, their power transfers into some other fruit in the world that is close to it. So basically, it is reincarnated and
kinda cool,
someone
though.
else can eat it next. How exactly does
Oh,
this
that's
work?
cool.
We do not know yet for certain, but there seems to be some sort of either actual devil or some sort of essence or magical energy within a fruit that chooses to leave once its host is gone. And it's also important to note that devil fruits, despite appearing quite a lot, are actually pretty rare in the One Piece world overall. Even though we do see a ton of them in the story, that's only because over time most of them have accumulated in the Grand Line, where basically all of the strong pirates and marines have been located. But if you're just a random person in the North Blue, you may not even know that devil fruits actually exist and might just think that it's some sort of fairy tale. Now, there are three basic
That's
categories of
kinda
devil fruit
weird,
powers,
but
which are zone fruits, which basically turn you into an animal, Logia fruits, which turn the user into some sort of element or substance, and Paramecia fruits, which have some rules but also include a lot of random powers that just don't fit into any other category that we'll discuss in just a moment. But first, zones, which originally were known as the weakest variety, but that has kind of changed recently. Like I just mentioned, this category of fruits allows the user to transform into an animal, granting them immense strength and stamina, and depending on the fruit, even some unique bonus abilities.
So is that how that one dude got turned into like a, I believe he was a leopard or something?
As well. There are of course tons of normal types of devil fruits in the story.
It's making sense now.
Giraffe, Anaconda, and many more. Now, these basic zones allow you to have your normal human form, an animal human form, and a full animal transformation.
That's what I was talking about.
These are not as interesting. Just wait, because there are also special categories of zone fruits that grant super unique abilities and might actually be the most interesting ones in the entire story. And there are also categories like the carnivore category, which includes fruits like a leopard or a wolf, which makes the user naturally more ferocious during battle. There's also the ancient zone category, which is basically a group of dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures, such as the Pteranodon fruit, saber-toothed tiger fruit, the mammoth fruit, and this one, which I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. Now, these ancient zones are actually much rarer than the other zones and have even more durability and recovery powers than the basic animal ones. However, this also brings us to the most powerful type of devil fruit in the story, probably mythical zone fruits.
Oh, that looks fire.
Turn the user
Yo,
into
that looks
some
fire.
mythical creature of legend. For example, the Buddha, a dragon,
What?
or even this 8-headed Yamato.
Oh, I thought those was just like sentient beings in the world. So those are actually like people that got turned into that?
Top of all the normal zone benefits, mythical zone users each also have a unique special ability related to their devil fruit. For example, the Phoenix Fruit user can use these blue flames for healing, and this wolf deity has frosty ice powers. Which brings us to the ultimate power of every single devil fruit, which is Awakening. This is a special ability that is only achieved after years of training and perfecting your devil fruit power and your body accepting your ability. And for zones, awakening your devil fruit grants the user an even more insane boost in speed, stamina, power, and recovery, because awakening basically makes you more of a tank. And some awakenings even come with special powers of their own, like when Luffy awakened his mythical zone Sun God Nika fruit and gained the power to make his imagination into reality. Which, I mean, let's be honest, is most likely the most broken ability in all of One Piece, but for over 1,000 chapters, we actually thought it belonged to the Paramecia category of devil fruits, because this group is the most common type of devil fruit. It's basically really a truly mixed bag of abilities, which basically allows Oda Sensei to include any power that pops into his imagination and push it into that category. However, it does include some of the most insane abilities in the entire story. And typically, Paramecia itself can kind of be separated into 3 different categories. There are Paramecia fruits that allow the user to change their body in some way, such as this guy turning into diamonds, this one turning into any weapon they choose,
I like that.
or this guy turning invisible. The second category of Paramecias are powers that alter the environment in some way or form. Now, one of the most famous examples is the Marine Admiral Fujitora's gravity fruit, which allows him to alter gravity as he chooses, like when he lifts all the rubble after his powers, which lets him cancel all noises within a certain bubble. And the third type of Paramecia fruit allows its user to produce a substance from their body. Some pretty pretty awesome examples of this are the Warden of Impel Down, who can produce a ton of different types of venoms and poisons from his body, or the former Warlord Doflamingo, who can produce and control string from his body, as we saw throughout the Dressrosa arc. And
He got my
while
favorite,
these
like,
three
he
categories
probably got my
mostly
top 3
make
favorite character
sense,
design
there
in
are
One
also
Piece.
some super quirky,
Doflamingo.
unique abilities that don't quite fit into any of these 3. For example, during Luffy's major battle against Katakuri, we learned that the Mochi fruit is a special paramecia which allows the user to both turn into Mochi and produce Mochi as well. Or another special devil fruit is Law's Ope Ope no Mi, which has some absolutely incredible powers. Now, how it works is that he can basically manipulate anything within his operating room, which means that he can swap people's personalities, change their body parts around like Mr. Potato Head, but just like the previous devil fruit, this one also has a special ability called the Perpetual Youth Surgery, which when used can give one person eternal youth, at least we assume.
What?
Which might be the most important power in the entire story. Which of course now also brings us to the ultimate power
why is
of the
Law
Paramecia
so
fruits, which
fire?
is of course their awakening. And while this has not been fully explained quite yet, we have seen a good amount of examples of awakened devil fruits that give us a pretty good idea of how it works for Paramecias. Essentially, an awakened Paramecia user can grant the ability of their devil fruit to some part of the environment. For example, we mentioned that Doflamingo can produce string from his body, but after using his awakening, he can basically turn the ground, buildings, and anything else in his surrounding into string that he can control as he wishes. Which, as you can imagine, is incredibly useful in a fight, but the
So
most
basically, he
naturally
just
powerful
got
category
DK
of devil fruits
in a way.
are the godlike Logia devil fruits. That's because with a single bite of a Logia fruit, a person instantly becomes some sort of element or special substance. For example, the Marine Admiral Akainu literally becomes magma, and the former Warlord Crocodile is completely made up of sand. And unlike Paramecia fruits, this basically means that Logia users are invincible against any normal fighters because normal attacks without Haki will just pass right through their elemental bodies, or they can
That's
quickly
crazy.
reform just like this Logia fruit user right here. Although there are 2 major exceptions to this, which we'll explain in just a moment. And I must also clarify that a
I seen that one dude, he can warp, like he teleported Blackbeard back onto that island. Last video, I seen that dude. So what is, does he use Haki? Like what, how is that a power? How can he just teleport or warp?
Logia fruit user must be actively using their powers to become untouchable. So if they're just being caught by surprise, they can still be hit by any normal attack. But invincibility is of course not the only benefit of this overpowered category of devil fruits, because they can also produce near unlimited amounts of their particular elements. For instance, the flame Logia user Sabo can produce enormous amounts of fire, and the lightning Logia fruit user Enel can generate tons of basically limitless lightning. And while most of these fruits are elements, we have seen some recent examples that suggest that it can be any sort of substance. For example, Karibu here has a swamp Logia, which lets him produce swampy mud that can literally absorb people into a pocket dimension, just like these helpless mermaids right here. Plus, the Revolutionary Army Commander Karasu here has the Soot Logia, which lets him produce and control dark soot at will, which he apparently loves to turn into crows that can attack and even carry messages. However, there is one Logia fruit that is unlike the rest, and that is Blackbeard's Darkness Logia fruit. And before we go any further, I must say that it is entirely possible,
even without watching the entire anime or even watching the anime period, or just seeing some stuff about some of the characters, Blackbeard is my favorite villain as of right now.
This isn't actually a Logia fruit.
I don't know.
I mean,
when I started playing Jump Force, I just always played as him for some reason. I just liked his abilities. I believe he was in Jump Force, if I'm not mistaken.
There are a ton of theories that this is actually just
maybe I'm thinking about a different game.
Zone, and it's just been covered up for hundreds of years as well. And I'm saying all of this because it has some truly unique and out-of-line abilities. For example, Blackbeard's body is not immune to normal attacks like other Logia fruits. In fact, in chapter 441, Blackbeard explicitly explains that because his Darknet fruit sucks everything in, it also absorbs damage from any attack. However, this same characteristic is also one of the special abilities of the darkness fruit, because
Okay.
as we see in the same chapter, Blackbeard can use the gravity of darkness to pull the actual bodies of devil fruit users as well. And by some weird process that we still don't understand, as long as Blackbeard is touching a devil fruit user, he can literally absorb their power of the devil fruit, which means that person loses the ability to use it, which is just a supremely overpowered ability, considering many of the strongest fighters in the world do have devil fruit abilities. In fact, this power may also be what allowed Blackbeard to eat.
So from my understanding, if he takes your devil fruit power, can't you still use Haki? Right?
2 devil fruits in the first place, but that is more theory than fact at this point. But despite the near invincibility of Logia fruit users, there is one hard counter to their abilities. And that's because if a person knows armament Haki, then they are just able to deal regular damage to a Logia fruit user, just like as if they were punching a normal person. Now, so far we've not really gotten an explanation why this works, but we see it in action throughout the post-time skip, and it's kind of assumed that your willpower forces the body to materialize, maybe by suppressing the devil in the fruit. And one other weakness for Logia users is if their particular element has a natural weakness. For example, the Sand Logia user Crocodile was able to be hit by Luffy even without Haki because his sand got wet. This apparently hardened his body enough so that Luffy could actually hit him, and Enel's lightning powers also did not affect Luffy's rubber, and Luffy was able to punch the previously invincible self-proclaimed god as well. And so the last remaining and most mysterious part of
Luffy just be taking everybody down
are Logia fruit users' awakenings, because we've only seen one possible example of this, which was the epic clash with the Marine Admirals Akainu and Aokiji during the time skip. Now this clash involved 2 of the most powerful Logia fruit users in the story, who we assume have to have awakened abilities, and their powers were so strong that the island of Punk Hazard was permanently split into wastelands of ice and fire. And just how Logia fruit users are affected by armament Haki, a Paramecia devil fruit is affected as well. For example, we were told by Trafalgar Law during the rooftop battle on Wano that he can simply teleport Big Mom and Kaido because their Haki is much more powerful than his. And Luffy also uses his Haki to enhance his devil fruit abilities by creating Gear 4th, which basically means focusing his armament Haki on different parts of his body to force his rubber into certain forms. And so in other words, while Haki can interfere or enhance many devil fruit abilities, Haki is not the only power system that crosses over with devil fruits. And that's because in fact, devil fruit powers can be combined with weapons. And this can happen in a more normal sense, like when the former Yonko Whitebeard combined his—
So does Zoro only use Haki, or does he have a devil fruit? If he does have a devil fruit, does he, like, I don't know, I'm kind of confused with Zoro because nobody really explains his powers.
Powers with his Naginata to smash into opponents, or also someone like Eustace Kid, who uses his magnetism fruit to actually create some truly awesome looking weapons, such as this massive railgun, which he used to fight Big Mom. And this of course also includes the actual devil fruit weapon hybrids that we already discussed, that were created by Dr. Vegapunk, who was somehow able to infuse a devil fruit into a normal weapon. But in addition to this and all of Vegapunk's other really impressive scientific achievements, Vegapunk has actually been able to use science to recreate and clone devil fruit powers. First, he made an actual copy of Kaido's mythical devil fruit, but while Vegapunk considered the fruit a failure, it lets Momo fully transform into a giant pink version of the dragon, which does seem fairly successful to me personally, at least. And while Vegapunk perfected this process, we already mentioned that Caesar also tried to make artificial devil fruits, though they were a lot less effective and came with massive drawbacks. And as far as we know, Vegapunk never actually made an actual devil fruit again, but what he actually did was maybe even scarier. That's because he somehow took the genetic factor of—
That's really what he looks like?
And infused it
I thought that was just a fake picture.
Clones to give them actual devil fruit powers of that user. We first saw this happen in chapter 1065 when the Seraphim S-Shark was introduced, who then soon after used the powers of the swim fruit, which is of course the perfect power for the clone of the world's strongest fisherman in the story, story, but an even greater match was giving the dice fruit to S-Hawk, the clone of Mihawk, which turns the clone of the strongest swordsman in the world into a literal blade human. But that's not even the strongest of the Seraphim Devil Fruit powers, because Vegapunk even duplicated the Paw Fruit, which is such a broken ability that I absolutely had to include it in my ranking of the top 5 most overpowered Devil Fruits in One Piece.
Alright, y'all. This video explained a lot for me. It did a lot. If he missed anything in the video, put in the comments what he missed. This video is kind of outdated. I couldn't find a newer video, but hey man, this is what we got. But this video was great. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button for me, and let me know in the comments if you missed anything. Let me know if you want me to react to any other animes. And yeah man, this is just finna turn into an anime channel. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you like anime, and we out. You